This week, I'm learning. Uh, Cody's going to be teaching us about breathing on airplanes. How safe is it?
Kind of safe.
And oh, is it?
Yep. Topic done.
And Brandon is going to teach us about Microsoft pumps some iron, strengthening its support for existing ARM products. Really, that
I
is
had to.
so silly.
Colton is going to teach us about the correlation between unidentified flying objects, the Pentagon, and a former member of Blink 182.
Stay tuned.
Interesting.
I didn't think that those things would go together.
No,
You would think not, but we will eventually, theoretically, find out about that.
Okay. Well, Cody, lead us off. How safe is breathing on airplanes? I'm assuming it's better than not breathing if you're on an airplane.
We're just so everyone knows we are pro breathing at This Week I'm Learning. Let's get that out of the way right now. Just
I think
in
that's
case.
a pretty safe stance to take.
Yeah, it's not really the most damaging political statement we've ever made.
Well, 100% of people that breathe die, so take that as you will.
So you know what? That's conspiracy talk, but...
So I introduced this topic on the last show, and I didn't want to be one of those podcasts that goes, hey, look, there's a cool idea. Let's forget about it forever. So here we are. I promised you this, and we have this. So this intrigued me as I was looking at the evil thing. Well, one of the many evil things that are plaguing all of us these days with COVID in just the year 2020. Anyway, so it turns out the way that air circulation works is actually, as the plane's flying, air gets pulled into the aircraft and then actually goes into an air conditioning system, and then, depending on the aircraft, it goes up through the outer hull of the aircraft, kind of like that, and then gets injected down. That's a terrible word to use. It gets pushed just downward into the main cabin. Injected into the main cabin sounds terrible, but and then from there it goes into the floor. And then once it's in the
air. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But so the air that's coming, 30,000 feet, is it compressed? Is it done anything before then, or did I miss that? Like, is it literally just the air from the outside is brought in, or is it compressed to
it goes
pressure?
It goes through the air conditioner. There wasn't a lot of detail on that. Once it goes into the cabin, it actually gets recycled, but it's only 50% of the air gets recycled, so it's 50% of the air that was in the cabin goes through HEPA filters, and then which filter out 99.97% of all particulate, as opposed to your N95 mask, which filters out 95% of all particulate. So it's a good system. It's hospital grade. The thing is that these systems, when they're in the cabin, it's like every, depending on the aircraft, 2 to 7 rows have their own kind of sectioned off airflow for it. So if like somebody is 10 rows ahead of you and they get sick, you're realistically not going to get that same airflow back where you are or forward where you are, depending on your how many miles you've accrued and if you've used them well. I'll just say that. And then from there goes back into the floor and then out the back of the aircraft. Or 50% of that gets reused, going through a HEPA filter and then injected with more fresh air. And it does this cycle every 3 minutes.
Is that regardless of plane type, or is that just standard on commercial planes?
Newer aircraft. So take that as you will. I don't have specific models for you on that. What's interesting is you could actually see it on like the Airbus A320, which is interesting. Like the side paneling, I've actually got a picture somewhere of like the the really
Like the
cool
misting?
the vapor,
Like a spaceship feel.
Ask a question or talk amongst yourselves for a second.
Well, now I'm curious about the 50% reuse. Why reuse any of the air at all? Is it for? Well, I mean, obviously pressure. I'm guessing, but is it also like heating to keep the air not below freezing like it would be at that height, or what's the real purpose of that? Or did I just somehow figure it out, being the aeronautics genius I am?
That sounds like a reasonable explanation, but otherwise I'm not sure.
Oh, so you're saying I'm right?
I'm saying you could be right. I'm saying that it's a Schrodinger's air.
That's fair.
Yeah. Until we look into it, we don't know if it's the right answer or the wrong answer. As you can see, so this is an Airbus A320, Air Asia, and you can see like the air mist coming out of it. This was shot on a really crappy cell phone camera. So,
well, even on our trip, didn't we see that? On was it on the other Airbus that we traveled from LA to Thailand or Singapore, whatever?
The A350. I don't know if the A350 had that or not, but it might have been on one of the shorter flights. But yeah, it's interesting because you see that. But I think the 737s do it the same way. I don't think they have those vents, but it basically goes up, comes down, and then there's vents in the floor that suck the air in. Now, what's interesting is as I was researching that, they were talking about that it might actually be better to have the air come back out of the cabin through the top as well, because of the way that air or heat rises, that you're less likely to circulate it among your neighbors of that same row. So,
but wouldn't that make the air at the passenger level get a bit stagnant?
That's what I would think. But
not if there's enough temperature differential between
cold air coming in and then warm air going out.
Kind of.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea. So, yeah, I found that interesting. I mean, in theory, like, it's actually cleaner to sit there than in a crowded airport. Of course, the longer the flight, the more likely that you can get sick from your neighbors sitting in the same row or one or two rows ahead or behind you. So it's not completely foolproof. But it's better than I thought it was. Because I thought it was like, in the front of the cabin there was a vent, and in the back of the cabin there was a vent, and then you just breathe all of the air. So
yeah, I guess I never really thought about it. I figured that the little nozzles up top were all part of a central system, and then it just recirculated.
Yeah, that's what I figured. And some of the long haul flights actually don't have those nozzles. Like I flew Korean Air 777, and for some reason you couldn't do that.
Screw that shit.
It's still comfortable, but
no, there's got to be some fresh, feelable air for me at least. Again, it just feels stagnant. Just gotta feel it all over my face.
I just throw noise-canceling headphones in and fall asleep and don't really care after the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I prefer to play Battleship.
Well, yeah. Now that we discovered that thing on Singapore Airlines.
That was awesome.
That was a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Did we ever tell you that about that, Brandon?
No.
Oh, yeah, Singapore Airlines.
What did you guys do?
So they've got Battleship on the Seatback Entertainment, where you can play Battleship with anybody else on the plane. You could basically
Anybody.
have a
That's awesome.
LAN party on the screen with anybody else in the aircraft.
So, of
Okay,
course-
that would be highly amusing.
It was actually a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah. They had like a few games. They had like Worms that we couldn't get to work for some reason, Battleship, and like one or
Wait,
two.
Worms?
The,
Worms
like,
like what we used to play
original-
LAN party?
Yeah.
It was more original,
Yeah, it
Like
was
the
it
original
was an
original.
older
It was like-
version of Worms.
like,
Like, for
32
being-
bit and less.
Yeah, for being an A350, it was a really old version of Worms.
Honestly, most of the games were pretty 16-bit feeling. Honestly,
Yeah, they were pretty antique. But I
But-
guess-
Well, you figured it's. I would be curious. I wonder if those are like HTML5 versions or like webified versions, and there's just a like web server on there, so you have to be really careful about how much
processing
you know,
power,
graphical
used.
fidelity. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
So
it's-
needless to say, we weren't 4K gaming at 144 hertz.
No.
Like, I'd say.
Well,
what'd
shame
you
on
say?
Airbus then.
I made a complaint.
I know.
They-
We could have
they
been
knew.
playing Overwatch, from our seats.
One of these days, we're gonna test my. I have like that little
Oh,
router,
the pocket router.
the little Pico router.
yeah.
I want to test that, and I was gonna test it on our trip, but then we found Battleship, and
All right.
that didn't happen.
Next flight, we're doing that. Next trip. So in like 5 years,
But-
when all of this is
Well,
over.
Well,
Yeah. Now that's the question:
Cody,
is
you
it
and
going to
I
be
did.
safe? Oh, go ahead.
Cody and I did direct Wi-Fi connections on our Surface tablets and played. What did we play on that when we went to Boston for Star Citizen?
That was. I don't even remember.
We all
that
like
did
Star
that.
Citizen.
I forgot that we did that.
Yeah, we both had our Surface tablets, and we did a ad hoc Wi-Fi network.
Yeah, I remember something.
But I cannot remember what we played.
I think
It might have just been like AoE2 or something.
that sounds right, actually.
I vaguely remember you guys actually telling me about that. Now that I
Yeah,
think about
that
it.
sounds right. That was our trip. It was to Boston because I remember on the way back I was just tired and uncomfortable. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Was it first
That's what
class?
happens when you go to Boston and you're there for an event and you're in and out in less than 24 hours.
Yeah.
That
No,
was-
that was a fun trip. That was a really fun trip. And no, it was not first class because that was before I found how to do miles. And also that was
That was
a freebie trip.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was back when I worked for United.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah, I enjoyed that trip.
So I guess the question is, when we can start flying again, is the air going to be safe? That's
It
question to you, Cody.
So, of course, if you wear a mask, that helps. It helps more if the person who's sick wears a mask. But since, as of right now, you don't know if you're sick or not, because anywhere between 5% of people with COVID to 80% of people with COVID, yes, that's 80, not 8, are symptomless. So that means that I could have COVID. Track could have COVID. Colton could have COVID. And nobody knows until you take a test. But it's, unrealistic for people to get tested every single day to see if they have it or not. So you just have to kind of, in a way, assume that you have it and
Well, have you
wear a mask
heard
on the
of
plane.
any like? Because some places down here in Tucson, they're actually like Chase Bank. Actually, no. What are the banks I go to? Whichever one it was, Chase or no, it was Compass. Compass Bank actually takes at least the one I go to. It actually takes your temperature before you go inside.
And they're doing that a lot, like in Asia too. But it doesn't matter because temperature is a symptom.
Well, yeah, but that's
Yeah.
the thing. Are they going to do I mean, if they come up with a test that's 2 or 3 minutes and they find out right away, are they planning on going to limiting that person from even getting on the plane? Or is there anything in the works for that type of thing?
This is kind of like the last episode where right now there's certain countries that are still doing it testing on arrival. I haven't heard of anybody doing testing before you get on the plane, which is arguably better. Other than, so there's a weird gap because there's those same countries are also saying like Alaska is actually doing this, where I think it was June 8th, so 2 days from when we're recording. If you come to Alaska, you can forego the quarantining if you have a recent negative test, like within 72 hours, or you take a test at the airport and it takes a few hours for them to get it back to, actually, maybe it's as low as 45 minutes, I've heard, for the rapid tests, to get the result back to you, and then you can forego the quarantine period. But that kind of begs the question of what happens if you get a negative test, you get on the plane with somebody who's infected, you get infected, and you still have the negative test that you show them.
Well, I'm assuming on the country of arrival or area of arrival, they're still going to test you, even with the. I mean,
yeah, but
with Alaska, with Alaska, they were saying that you could either be tested on arrival or have the the recent test results of negative. Now, granted, you would have to be, from what I just described, you'd have to be sitting within 2 rows of somebody who's sick in order to really catch the particulate to get sick yourself.
Yeah. So the kind of nitty-gritty of it is it kind of depends on your risk factors and your acceptable level of risk.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it's safer than like even
grocery
city
shopping,
bus transit or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it sounds way safer than taking the bus or taking a subway or even a taxi to a certain extent.
Of course, you think about all of the... I mean, I don't know how long after you're exposed to the virus that you actually would test positive for it, even if you wouldn't have symptoms. But say you're going through DIA, Denver International Airport, during the holiday season when you're literally mushed up against 6,000 other damn people.
Oh, like the
breathing
Memorial
down your neck,
Day weekend
licking the back
fiasco.
of your neck.
Licking the back of your neck.
You know, I've had some weird experiences in airports. That's all I'm going to say.
Like,
that's
hey,
for a later episode.
You look like you've got a very lickable neck there.
That's, you know what? You're in those lines for so long. You got to get the salt intake. It's hot. I don't know. That's after hours shit again. Stay tuned. One of these days we're going to do that. It's going to be TWIL after hours. Where we all just get naked and
taste each other's necks.
Talk, again.
Two drink inevitable. Minimum.
That would be fun one day. That would be fun to...
Yeah, got to get the scotch out.
Scotch.
Give me a whiskey any day. Regular whiskey. Just Jack and Coke.
Sang song.
Call me Simpleton. Well, if I wanted to get the cheapest garbage in the world. And
okay, that's not too bad.
Mean, it's actually it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, it's whiskey. They call it whiskey, but it's really rum, and it doesn't taste like battery acid. It's way better than like Skull is to vodka.
You want to explain exactly what that is to our viewers that haven't been to that particular country?
So it's Thai, rum. Because it's made from sugar, from what I understand. Or, yeah, I think so. I didn't do research on Sangsam today. So it's Thai whiskey, but everybody says that it's actually rum, so I'm sure there's a sugar
this will get
component.
You drunk. Just put it in your mouth. Just drink it.
No, if you really want to get drunk, drink Lao Cow. Yeah, but that's basically moonshine, so...
There you go.
Anyway, that's for our other episode.
That's a
where
free
we
tip,
taste
guys.
each other's necks. Yes.
Or
In
the
an
salt.
airport.
See, you always forget the salt part. You got to keep a salt balance, otherwise, I don't know.
Yeah,
Fine.
for
You know what?
for science. Yeah,
Lime, salt.
tequila lime neck.
Now, where are you supposed to get the salt? That's all I'm saying. That's
So
A
so
great shit
basically,
right there,
it's
is all I'm
okay to
saying.
breathe. It's okay to breathe.
Long story
Breathing
short,
is good.
Yeah, yeah.
pro breathing. So our stance is still
Yes.
not
Still
politically
pro.
detrimental to us.
Yeah,
We're still pro breathing.
Pro-breathing.
Even with that new information, we're still pro breathing. All right, we'll keep that going.
So, Colton, you
Yes?
want to talk about how unidentified flying objects, the Pentagon, and a former member of Blink-182 are related?
I would love to. So, as you guys know, and the entire world knows, we've been dealing with the effects of COVID and the subsequent economic uncertainties that have come. But during the middle of it, I would say about a month and a few days ago, late April 2020, the Pentagon actually officially released 3 videos containing unidentified aerial phenomena from Navy pilot footage way back in 2004, infrared and all that. So basically, it's a big deal because, well, it's the Pentagon admitting UFOs are real. The official statement, everything like that. Pilots were heard saying, like, wow, mentioned how fast the objects were going against the wind, even though it was like 120 knots in the opposite direction. Like, they literally, they had no clue what the heck it was. And according to official reports, neither did the Pentagon or the government. So that's that. But why it's kind of interesting in the sense of those videos were actually leaked / released to a private company called To the Stars Academy of Arts and Sciences, which actually was co-founded by that former member of Blink-182, Tom DeLange, back in he's still sort of on them, but he was really with them from like 1998 to 2003, kind of in that time, music and whatever. That company is mainly an entertainment company, but for some weird reason, it has science and aerospace subdivisions that are dedicated to fringe science. Right? That's it. It's freaking the internet is absolutely incredible with this type of rabbit hole I went down. So obviously, fringe science being UFOs, cryptozoology, ghosts, all that shit. So during the middle of all this crazy crap that's been going on, basically the government admitted UFOs are real, and as far as I saw, like, it didn't even make front page news. Like, that's the most interesting part of this. Like, there were like some memes that kind of mentioned it on some of like Reddit forums and stuff, but it didn't make CNN like the front page because obviously the COVID stuff was going on, the economic crap was going on. So it's kind of interesting little thing.
So wait, in 2020, April was UFO month, and we completely missed that and went from COVID to murder wasps and skipped.
Yeah, even
UFOs.
Murder Hornets made like a 3-day thing, which, God, what 2020 is a weird damn year. So it's kind of funny. Have you guys seen those? Not, I guess you call it a meme of the. Like, it's got a calendar and it's showing what each month kind of represented. Like January, Australia was on fire. March was COVID. This month is, at least in the United States, is social unrest. So with the government admitting UFOs are real, I'm thinking like my bets are on like October, November. We actually make first contact officially. That's what I'm placing my bets right here. Because why the hell not? I mean,
God,
that's just the way the year has been going so
they've
far.
looked at the world. They've looked at the world and went, no, I'm out. I'm out.
They are not ready. God, what would we even do?
They're looking out there going, what the hell are they doing? What? Why?
That doesn't make any. You mean they won't put on masks? Really? Whatever. Well, it's kind
They
of going
won't
with
stay home.
They can't stay home. Really. Next planet. Well, it's kind of going with the rabbit hole. It's also kind of interesting because I found like official news reports that, well, little context. Apparently, in around 2007, I think is what I saw, Senator Harry Reid actually put together not a proposal, but actually asked the Pentagon to actually start officially researching UFO phenomena. It was like a 5-year program or whatever. And a lot of, I guess, it ended in 2012 for bullshit political reasons. Not important. But a lot of the people that actually worked on that particular program are saying there's a fair to good chance that we in fact are not alone. So it's kind of interesting how, I mean, just it's and again, these aren't official reports, but going with this whole thing that the government acknowledged Blink-182's singer as being correct about UFO phenomena. It's kind of, who knows? Maybe it is. Maybe it is. Kind of interesting. That's what I learned. We're all screwed. We're already being controlled by the alien overlords. That's why this year is so weird.
Oh, I can see people coming to conclusions already. COVID, really, from aliens.
Well, they have to. People are silly. Well, it's kind of funny. Even like that, the Blink-182 guy is a known conspiracy theorist. That's why he started a damn entertainment company that deals with freaking UFOs and ET and all that crap. But turns out he was right. So maybe he had something to say. We should have listened. Yeah. We have to go back through Blink-182's entire like music repertoire, every song, and be like, that's what he was trying to tell us the whole time, man. He predicted this.
Or he is an alien.
See, I did find one. I should have put this in there. There was one, not article, but a blog post that did like go into detail as to why this particular former member of Blink-182 is in fact an alien. So, again, the rabbit hole of the internet is just it's incredible.
And then
the greatest invention of humanity.
Maybe the aliens are already giving us their secrets. I mean, you look at the name Elon Musk. That sounds
alienish. Think about what they were going to name their kid. That weird XT
X-Ash.
X-Ash.
AE is Ash. Yeah. X-Ash A12.
Huh.
God, what a weird freaking world we live in now. Even with.
Hey, it could be boring. At least it's not boring.
So since we're on this crazy rabbit hole, did you see, I can't remember her first name, Grimes, Musk's girlfriend, is selling a little piece of her soul. 10 million or best offer, and you can have a piece of her soul.
How do you quantify that?
Yeah.
Like The sad part of that is someone's gonna fucking buy it. You know, maybe not asking price, but someone will be like, "Hey."
So she felt that asking for 10 million for a piece of her soul was tone deaf in the current climate. So she is taking best offers.
See, you know what? That's why those are the real heroes. I mean, sometimes the rich will save us. Apparently. Like, I would hope it's a joke, but you know,
there are so many things.
With people like the way they are, I don't think it's a joke.
No, it's not. Honestly, it's probably just attention-seeking behavior.
Hey, you know what? She got on TWIL, so you know what? It worked.
She's just making it big. She's on TWIL.
Hey,
why does she need $10 million?
You know, that's a good point. You know, that's a damn good point.
Like,
well, I mean, it's expensive to get those astronauts into space. Maybe she's just helping her.
She's
boyfriend.
Funding SpaceX with pieces of her
funding
soul.
Piece of her soul. You know what? It's not the weirdest currency we have in the world. So,
at least it's not Dogecoin.
You know what's weird? I have like 5,000 shares in Dogecoin because if it ever gets big, it's like what, a dollar? Not even a dollar. It's like 0.002 cents per Dogecoin. And I had $10 in an account. And I'm like, hey, just freaking buy my own Dogecoin. Why not? If it
Much
even if it
fluff.
hey, if it goes up if it goes up at all to a dollar, I'm
It's like the
rich.
equivalent to
I
penny
won't have to sell a
stocks in
piece of my soul.
cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're participating in one of the greatest jokes of our time. I like it. Not
Hey, why
enough
the
to
hell
give
not?
them my money, but I like it.
Again, I use that Robinhood app, and I just had an extra $10. Like I can't afford anything that's worth it, and honestly, with the economy the way it was, I'm like, probably not. Well, it was when it was super high. I'm like, I can't buy anything because it's probably going to crash. Not that I predicted, because I didn't. I'm not that good. But buy low, sell high, and all that makes sense.
Colton.
That's a little bit of who I am.
He's a financial savant and he doesn't even know it.
Hey, you're going to be eating those words come 2030 when Dogecoins and souls are the only freaking currency we have in the world.
All right, please
But
save
on
us.
on a more realistic note, Brandon, what the hell is Microsoft doing with ARM products again? They're still trying this crap.
Okay, so first of all, like ARM is a great architecture. I mean, you look at the cell phones and tablets out there. The battery life is amazing because they don't have these ancient, instruction sets that they have to support. But what makes it really exciting? So, I have a Yoga C630 WS I bought a year and a half ago. And it was great out of the box, 24-hour battery life. I think I've got a review of it on the techpirate.net, but it's great, but there was always like those one or two apps that you just couldn't get to run. When they retried going on ARM, the whole idea behind it is that they would do a software emulation so that you could run x86 32-bit apps. So you can run legacy apps on it as long as it was 32-bit. Most things it works great on. But because we've now gotten so entrenched in 64-bit, all the modern processors from Intel and AMD have been 64-bit for almost 15 years now?
Yeah, 2007.
Yeah. So there are applications that you simply cannot run. There is no way to run them on these Windows on ARM devices. There's no 64-bit emulation. Windows originally announced that they were working on 64-bit emulation when they launched the Surface Pro X, which is their ARM-powered Surface device. We now have a little bit more information. They are actively working on it. They're set to release the 64-bit emulation layer in 2021. What we're not sure about yet is if it's only going to support the Microsoft SQ1 processor, which is their custom processor they had made for the Surface Pro X, or if it's going to extend to devices running the 8CX like Samsung's Book S, or if it could even extend to the older products still running the 850 like in my Yoga, or even the 835 like in the Asus Nova Go, which was the first Windows on ARM attempt. I mean, aside from the failed Windows RT debacle, which I have one of those sitting on the shelf.
You always have been an early adopter of crazy ideas in some ways.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
is it a mobile device? Yeah. Does Drac have it? Of course.
He probably has one lying around somewhere. Hey, early adopters
But
are how progress is made. So no, it's not an insult.
yeah,
I have some
but
of your early
I
adopt devices too. I think.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I've
somewhere
sold
in
a few
my
to you.
shit. I don't know.
Yeah. But along with that, like right now, when we're emulating 32-bit instructions on this 64-bit ARM architecture, we're basically immediately cutting in half the available processing power because we're having to drop down to 32-bit instructions. And then on top of that, you have that emulation layer that's taking up part of that translation is overhead. You're losing it to that translation. So what I think we're going to see is as soon as they get this 64-bit instruction set emulating on a 64-bit processor, I think we're going to see overall better efficiency and performance over the 32-bit emulation. So I'm really hoping that they do, since it is just a software layer, that anything that runs ARM, they'll release it to, even if the Snapdragon 835 that's in the Nova Go is probably not going to do too great with it. It was not a great device when it came out. It was very much a, hey, we're going to throw a phone processor in this and kind of make some tweaks and make it work.
Well,
The
how does like a modern ARM processor compare to an ARM processor of say 2 years ago? Like, has there been significant, I guess, progress? Kind of like at least on the Ryzen side of AMD, or is it still kind of in its infancy, or has there been any
it's
major progress?
so the difference between like the 850, which I have in the Yoga, to the uh, 8CX or the SQ1, those are ARM architecture that has been specifically designed to run in these laptops. So they take advantage of being able to run higher wattage because they can actually put active cooling in them. They've got more thermal capability to shed. The 850 that I've got in this is overclocked compared to a phone because it does have more, heat piping and available area. But the jump between the 850 and the 8CX is pretty major. Um, I haven't
Well, it's just
upgraded
the
to that device yet, but
well, I mean that's important to the overhead, regardless until I guess new architectures are built that actually that can utilize the ARM and actually and work in terms work on a worldwide economic reason, whatever that actually makes sense. That they're going to have to
yeah.
deal with the overhead problem. That's why I was wondering
Oh
if
yeah.
there's any big leap. So that even if it's just a little bit of overhead, it still can compete with the regular x86 processors
Well, so they're talking
at the same
the
price point.
8CX. I know for sure the Microsoft SQ1 they were comparing to like a 2 generation old i5 as far as like performance benchmarks on instruction sets that were specifically compiled for ARM 64 and x86, run side by side on the two different machines. It's very comparable to an i5 that's about 2 generations old, which going from the performance of an 850, which is like a i3 from several years ago for general productivity and stuff like that, is a massive increase in a very short amount of time. I also think what's going to help boost this market is Apple has confirmed that they're going to be launching 3 different ARM-based processor laptops in the next few years.
Really?
They're
That doesn't
yeah,
surprise me, actually, with how popular
yeah.
the
I mean,
iPad is, and yeah.
well, and I mean they make their own chipsets. I mean they lease the design from Qualcomm, and then they tweak it, and so they run their own. They've been running their own custom processor. I want to say since like
At least
the
4 years ago.
iPhone 8. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a while. And I remember 2 years ago they were talking the, A12 or whatever chipset that the first iPad Pro was running. If you benchmark it side by side with similar tasks that have been programmed for each individual architecture, that it was blowing the pants off of i5s and i7s. And it's more energy efficient and more heat efficient.
Well, I mean, if anyone can pull that kind of integration off, I mean, they could probably do it. Just from
Yeah.
the software side, since it's all one environment, it'll be a lot easier to, well, I guess, design the chip around the environment. Will they do it that way, or do they do it the other way?
So they're basically taking their desktop operating system and compiling it and all of the standard apps for this ARM architecture. But they're also, just like Microsoft did, adding in an emulation layer for those older products. So
I'm
it'll be
sure the
interesting to
fanboys
see.
will buy it in droves just because it has an Apple logo on it. So
Yeah, exactly. They'll put something like, "Oh, it's 20% faster than the previous, MacBook,
no,
but
you
it's
have
a
to
thousand
talk
dollars
slow.
more."
It is almost 20% faster.
Yeah.
Oh God,
And
Apple, thank you.
24 hours of battery life.
Be
I
still,
can
my
watch
heart.
more cat videos.
Can you do general productivity? Can you play games on it? No, we cannot.
You can write some mean documents.
The finest documents on an Apple processor
But
with their keyboards that finally work.
So, two other bits that Microsoft has, it's great they're working on the emulation layer, but that doesn't help the people who've adopted it early. And the Surface Pro is $1,000 device. I mean, it is a pricey device. And there have been some complaints early on from early adopters that, hey, I can't do half of my workflow that I would want to do on this kind of device. One of those is developers. And one of the most requested apps has been MS Code, Microsoft Code.
Really?
They finally, yeah. So you can run it in emulation layer, but you can't actually do much other than basic text editor stuff. If you try and use any plugins or anything like that, it just crashes. So just recently, I think in the last couple days, I actually just downloaded it today to play with. Didn't get a ton of time in before the show with it, but I did play with it for about an hour. There's a new nightly build of MS Code that is natively compiled for ARM64 architecture, and it is wonderful. It is blazing fast compared to the emulation layer version. And you can try and run extensions in it. Some extensions will work depending on what they were coded in. Some of them don't, but they're reaching out to the larger third-party extensions and going, hey, by the way, you can recompile this for ARM64 and it'll now work with the new nightly build. So I thought that was pretty cool. That was kind of one of my biggest things is you can't even run Visual Studio on it to do like command line interface, C++, C# programs.
Basic crap.
And it's like, yeah, and it's like, if I'm going to write apps for this platform, I'd like to write apps on that platform so that I can just natively run it and test it, and I don't have to worry about an emulation layer on my desktop and not acting right because it's not on actual native hardware.
Adding more variables to the situation.
Well, I'm guessing that's why Microsoft is trying to throw their muscle, to use your analogy again into the fight a little bit to actually
Yeah.
hopefully push the industry in the way they want to do it where they theoretically see it happening. But
Hopefully. And then a couple more things. So, have you guys heard about the latest feature update for Windows 10?
No.
Okay. So, 2004, which has caused endless confusion among some of my clients. Why would I want to download a version of Windows from 2004?
the general
I
user
can't
base.
roll my eyes hard enough.
I mean, at least they're
Does it
looking
work?
at it and going,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
look right. So,
Well, technology companies and everything are just great with naming, so it's all good.
yeah. Because, God
We
forbid
know most gaming
know.
companies can't count.
You want to play Battlefield 2 or Battlefront 2 or Battlefront 2? Which one, guys?
Yeah. But, yeah, so Windows 10 version 2004 is now available to Seekers. So, Seeker, how is it?
It's not from
Sorry.
2004.
Bad pun. Yeah, so it
Can't roll my eyes
specifically
hard enough.
brings... Yeah, thanks. It specifically brings a couple of updates to the ARM platform. The Your Phone... Have you guys played with the Your Phone app at all?
I didn't know there
I'm
was
gonna
anything.
take
that
that
was
as a
a
no.
Your phone, not earphone.
Yeah, your, like,
The Windows
your phone.
Like it's
But
the
it's-
integration between Android and, well, I guess any phone that isn't Windows Phone, which
iOS.
doesn't exist anymore.
poor drag.
So, I know.
Speaking of
I
early
occasionally
adopters, anyways.
look longingly at my poor Windows phone.
Okay, your phone.
Anyway, Your Phone is a basically communication app between your Windows 10 computer and your Android phone. It lets you respond to text messages. It lets you look at notifications that come in. It also lets you, if you have a supported, which for a while it was only certain high-end Samsung phones, you can actually interact with your phone, view the screen, interact with it
Okay.
like you would normally with it being in your pocket. They just, in the last update for your standard PCs, also allowed you to make calls from your desktop using your phone, but through your desktop interface.
That's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, it's...
Can you
it's
can
nice
you
if you're...
text through your computer?
Yes.
I think you can do that
Oh
now,
yeah,
can't you?
that's been here for a while.
But
yeah.
now they think the one caveat to use the Your Phone app on Android, you have to get the Microsoft skin, right? Not skin, launcher.
No, you are
Really?
not... I don't believe you're required to get the launcher anymore. There's actually a Your Phone companion app that you just download and then you sync it up that way.
Huh.
It's... I love using it when I was having to go into... Well, when I was going into an office every day. Could keep the phone in my pocket and
Whatever that was like.
easily see notifications come up, see text messages come up, and not have to pull my phone out. It was also useful during meetings if somebody was texting me and it's like, in a meeting, I'll text you right back. But
yeah, I'm sure you just used it for that kind of thing, not talking to the wife or something, or I don't know.
Well, anyway, so they now have brought the call option to ARM-powered devices. That was not a thing before. They've also now brought over copy and paste from phone to computer. So if you copy something on your phone, you can paste it into your computer and vice versa. And they've also now put an option to hide your phone screen when you're connecting through your phone to your phone. Because the way it worked before is your screen would actually turn on, the apps would open, you would see everything on your phone that you were doing through the remote control window.
So if somebody
Now
was
they've got an
sitting in
option to
front
hide
of your... That's interesting. So you could keep your phone locked and still have access to your phone.
It will still unlock it, I believe.
I'm guessing the
because
app
you-
probably requires permissions to have it unlocked if you're using it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, it's still, as long as it's on you, it's not really an issue because you're unlocking it and it's still in your pocket. And then as soon as you end the remote session, it will relock it. But yes, for that moment, if someone were to, grab it off your desk or whatever, it is in an unlocked
I'm
state.
trying it right now.
Okay. But that is the specific ARM updates in there. Aside from that, they now have introduced the chat-based UI for Cortana. So
Just won't let her die.
I still miss my beer can. I wish it was working. I prefer Cortana's voice to the G-word assistant, just more naturally speaking. They also released Windows Subsystem for Linux 2. So now you have access to the full Linux kernel under the stable branch and updating for the subsystem through Windows Update, which is kind of a big thing. Supposedly faster Bluetooth pairing. I did pair these up and it did seem a little quicker, but not enough to really tout it. And more Kimoji in the Windows Emoji keyboard.
Why didn't you lead with that? That's all people care about.
I know.
Got to know your audience, man.
Yeah. Virtual desktops can now be named. Finally. So you can set up different virtual desktops. Like if you have a work profile and you have certain websites and applications that you open on a work profile versus a game profile versus a streaming profile. And now you can actually name those virtual desktops. Rather than just going.
That has always been an annoying thing about the virtual desktop stuff. Like that just seems like a common sense thing, but people are
Linux I'm pretty sure Linux has had the feature to rename the virtual desktops since they implemented virtual desktops. I could be wrong.
I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, since built by semi-real people.
Yeah.
Who happen to code.
Xbox Game Bar now supports third-party widgets. Could be interesting.
I really do like that Xbox Game Bar. Like,
it's handy.
Like, the more especially now that I'm getting more into like the streaming side and building YouTube videos, like it is super freaking useful. So I'm glad they're still putting effort into actually improving it and adding features.
As long as they don't bring back games for Windows Live, I'll be okay with Microsoft meddling into games. God, what a terrible
That's their end game, honestly. All of this will bring it back to that. Oh no.
Oh, I remember when they wanted to they're like, we want to unify the experience between PC game users and Xbox game users. Like, no, don't do that.
Games for Windows Live on Vista.
Get away.
Well, the push for cross-platform games is still alive and well.
Yeah, I don't mind cross-platform. It's just like
it's
there's
just
a
more on the
reason
developers. It's more on the developer side versus a single entity.
But the experiences are different for a reason. Let's keep those experiences different.
Yeah. Well, and I mean the fact that it's tied into the Xbox brand, bar. I apparently want to.
Hey, name of a new bar. X-Bar. Let's start a bar.
X-Bar X. Super X. Extreme.
Yeah, I mean, since it's tied in with their Xbox platform, I think it's going to be more stable in the long run. the games for Windows Live, they tried to tie it in with Live, which then they killed Live off, and then they started trying to tie it into Xbox, and then they just decided to kill it, and now there's games that you have to go out and find, like a old version of games for Windows Live to install, and then registry edit stuff to get it to work right, and that's annoying.
What is that? What's that game? What's that racing game that we used to play?
Flat Out.
Flat Out.
Flat Out. That's really the only one I really remember that whatever. Well, it still was an issue, at least as of a couple years ago. Probably always. Obviously, it always will be.
Dawn of War 2 also has, if I remember, similar issues.
Age of Legends.
Mm.
Yeah, that was another one. But yeah, so they're bringing third-party support to widgets, which is fantastic. I hope that there's going to be some good widgets in there, like maybe Discord would be a good one.
Twitch.
Yeah, Twitch. Another update, memory improvements in the new Microsoft Edge. The calculator app can now float on top of other windows. And Notepad is getting updates.
Why?
Wraparound text.
Everybody
find and replace,
uses Notepad
quick zooming.
plus that really needs to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, isn't that one of the...
I mean, it's good. I shouldn't be...
It's for what it is, it's
poo-pooing
fine.
it. Yeah.
But isn't that one of the apps that when the new Windows, whatever it's going to... What's the new Windows they're developing that's completely separate from...
Windows...
I'm drawing a blank,
Windows
too.
Lite? What? Oh, that's going to drive me nuts.
That's worth a Google.
Longhorn!
No.
Firefox.
That's a joke. It's like what Windows
Extreme.
Vista used to be called.
Windows X.
That's the shortcut to
X-Force.
get to the advanced menu.
Well, once you look that up, I know that when since they're developing the new Windows platform, they're trying to get rid of like all the standard apps that come with Windows. Notepad, obviously, I don't know if the snipping tool is starting to be replaced with Snip and Sketch or whatever. Paint is going to be replaced with whatever the hell the new one's going to be. It's kind of just a fact. I'm always sad they got rid of pinball. They should have kept that.
10X. Windows 10X.
See, I was half right with the X. I was half joking.
They're doing the Xbox Series 1 X thing.
That is such a
They're going to stop learning how to count
thing.
with Windows now.
I don't know why.
They have had consecutive Windows? I mean, except for 7 to 8.
Yeah.
Where's Windows 9? Speaking of conspiracy theories, where's Windows 9, Brandon?
It's because of Windows 95.
They're actually...
They couldn't do it because of, there was certain system files that when they tried to do it that way, they messed things up. So they actually had to create Windows 10 instead of Windows 9 because of it. And it's like, let's just skip a number.
You know, I actually did not know that. I learned another thing this week.
Yeah, it was a whole
Which I guess
thing.
is the point. Huh.
Plus, from a marketing standpoint, it also separated 8 out further from 10 since they were bringing back a more traditional desktop first approach rather than a touch first.
Or, the Metro interface. Oh.
You know,
Metro!
For the tablets experience, I was okay with it.
Yeah, but
from the desktop experience, God forsake that
server.
Thing.
Why the hell would you put
oh
Metro
my God,
UI
yeah,
on a
that
server?
That is so freaking stupid.
Oh.
God. Someone in their development team.
This is the whole thing about unifying experiences being a bad idea. Like, there's a reason why different things need different experiences. Don't do one size fit all. It's the worst idea. One size never fits. Like, it's just bad.
Well, you make
it's one
compromise.
thing if the OS changes to what it is. Like if a standard Windows 10 build had both the server interface and the desktop interface and the tablet interface, kind of like it does now, it's fine. It's there if you choose to use it. Otherwise, it defaults to the best experience for your device.
Okay with that, but you wouldn't
'Cause
do shit like that
Windows
on a
Server-
server. You would never. You would never
No,
use a touch interface on a server. At least with our current technology, you wouldn't. I mean, I guess you could remote in to a server and use a tablet, but
I remember doing that just because it was easier. It's like, okay, I have my Surface laptop. I'll just remote in and okay. But
silly.
yep.
Oh, this is I'm messing around with the earphone thing, and it's sorry, I'm jumping back topics, but it's kind of interesting. It actually even shows you the battery power of your phone. It has more and less features than I thought it would have at the same time.
So what is it missing that you thought it would have?
I was gonna say,
Like, foo-foo-y stuff like change your background. It kind of makes sense because that's more direct Android integrated stuff. But I figured that they would want to do that, but I guess they would need more control of your phone to do that. So that makes sense. And actually, in a way, that's kind of a relief that they don't let you do that.
separate things are good,
Well, and
technology-wise.
if you wanted to do that, if you were
Not any other way.
wanting that for some reason, you could just control your phone and do it through that interface.
I don't see a control your phone
It's
option
hold on, let me
here.
open up the
Unless
app.
settings.
You know what?
Oh, wait.
Most of the only thing I really
Phone screen is what you want. Phone screen.
honestly the most. I mean, I really have to start using the Your Phone app apparently because I always thought you had to get that Microsoft skin or launcher, which was fine, but
Launcher.
But
I mean,
really,
I have it on mine just because I prefer. Yes, from your computer, Cody.
Yeah, that's actually nice being able to respond to text on a full keyboard. Oh!
the call thing is going to be
Okay.
super freaking
If
cool.
I could use my Instagram app on my phone from my computer, that way I could actually upload photos to Instagram from my computer.
You can.
Okay.
You can drag and drop.
Sold them.
You can drag and drop files to your phone from your phone screen.
Yeah, I still don't see where you actually control the phone. I'll have to mess with this
So-
later, not on air.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll have to mess with it.
We'll have to talk about that on our next episode and see if we actually enjoyed it. Because I'm downloading as we speak. I'm going to start playing with it.
Yeah, controlling your
Yeah.
phone, a bad idea or a good idea?
I'll be honest, I don't use the phone screen control that much. I don't really have a need to. If I, need something on it, I'll just grab the phone. But what it's handy for me is the messages and the notifications.
Or if
Well,
you
see-
lose your phone and you don't have TWIL, you could control your phone from your computer and then play music from your phone.
See,
maybe,
something
with the
like
take
that
control.
I think-
would make a lot of freaking sense.
I think right now it has to be on the same network. in
Yeah, but
order
if
to
it's
do
in
your
if
phone
it's in
screen.
your house, you've lost it.
Oh, yeah.
In
Yeah,
the
yeah,
seat
yeah.
cushions, you
Yeah,
could
it's just-
theoretically use it to find your phone.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You could blast music on it and
Yeah.
be like, oh, hey, there it is. Or you could just smartwatch it.
See, I use the messages for Android app, and it's the same thing, but it's through a web interface for the text messages. Yeah, but
Samsung actually removed that function from the built-in Messenger
Of course
to
they did.
get you
Why?
to use
Why not? Why
to
would
get you
you?
to use the Microsoft product.
It's always good to remove features of, but
Yeah.
nah.
Well, gentlemen, we are a bit past an hour since I've got 2 segments of recording, so I believe it's time to start to wrap things up a bit.
Okay. Well, I'll lead us off. I am Brandon Vader, also known as Dracanis on Twitch Gaming or Twitch TV, TTP_net on Twitter, and The Tech Pirate on YouTube.
I am Cody Stratman, also known as Psycho Nitrous, however difficult that is to spell.
Still learning.
Yeah, I do have. It's like my coworker at
I
Internet
literally,
Colorado's name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I exist on Twitter, but I don't remember what my name is because I don't use Twitter, but I have a Twitter. I have an Instagram that I'm going to get better about now that I can post from my computer, which would be much better. I'll rant about that. Anyway, yeah, that's also YouTube, striving to fail. So.
I am Colton Roper. Go by Seeker4761 and damn near everything I do online. Twitch, Seeker4761, YouTube, Seeker4761, Life4761.
That's how many tries it takes him.
It's so many tries.
Yeah.
Also, I'm a contributor to the techpirate.net, Brandon's tech blog website that we need to get better about posting content on, which I think we will. It's not like we don't have time. We have no excuse anymore. So, yeah, check us out on any of those multiple things that any of us have said. Please like and subscribe. Do all that. Check us out. And hey, yeah, it's like and subscribe. That's the way it is, Cody. Sorry. That's a rant for another episode. Apparently that's wrong.
Hit us up on your favorite RSS reader.
What's your MySpace, bro?
Actually, okay, quick segue since we brought that up.
Shit.
Like,
my bad. My bad, people. My
and
bad.
all right, I swear this is gonna be 5 minutes or way less. Back in like November or October, I actually logged into MySpace and it was eerie because it was like 2004 frozen in time. It was like nothing had changed. Like, wow, this is what the past feels like.
Yeah, a year,
Whoa,
year or
it's
two
2004 again. Whoa, aliens are everywhere, bro. Whoa.
A year or two ago, I had a similar thing where it's like I lost some data, and it's like, oh, I think I had some of those pictures on MySpace, and sure enough, I did.
At
so
640 by
I
480
downloaded some of
resolution.
them. Yeah, yeah.
I never did MySpace, so I have not had that
Look at you,
experience
Mr.
yet.
Cool.
It was
It's
both
not cool.
a
Mr.
terrible
Young guy.
Back then, no. God, no. Because I
and
didn't have
wonderful experience. Like some of the days of Facebook, I look fondly back on MySpace and go, it was a better time.
Where you could
a time where
you could
chain
force
letters.
people to listen to your music.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. And then the chain letters. Oh. But
Just as bad on Facebook.
I mean, at least the content was usually less like inflammatory.
Seems a bit more. It
Yeah.
seemed a bit more customizable for the actual user.
Yeah, it was a simpler time, a better time. So on that note,
Different time.
have a good day, everyone. Go back to 2004. You'll love it there.
Forget 2020. Just
Yep. We're going back.
2004.
Blanket from the memory. See you, everyone.
Later.